Frankfurt Airport is a major international airport located in Frankfurt, the fifth largest city of Germany and one of the world's leading financial centers. It is operated by Fraport and serves as the main hub for Lufthansa, including Lufthansa CityLine and Lufthansa Cargo, as well as Condor and AeroLogic. The airport covers an area of 2,000 hectares of land and features two passenger terminals with a capacity of approximately 65 million passengers per year, 4 runways and extensive logistics and maintenance facilities. Frankfurt Airport is by far the busiest airport by passenger traffic in Germany, as well as the fourth busiest in Europe after London Heathrow Airport, Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport and Istanbul Atatürk Airport. The airport is also the 12th busiest worldwide by total number of passengers in 2015, with 61.032 million passengers using the airport in 2015, an increase of 2.5% from 2014. It also had a freight throughput of 2.076 million metric tons in 2015 and is the busiest airport in Europe by cargo traffic. As of winter 2012, Frankfurt Airport served 264 destinations in 113 countries, making it the airport with the most international destinations in the world. The southern side of the airport ground was home to the Rhine-Main Air Base, which was a major airbase for the United States from 1947 until 2005, when the airbase was closed and the property was acquired by Fraport. Location: Frankfurt Airport lies 12 kilometers southwest of central Frankfurt, near the Autobahn intersection Frankfurt-Kreuz, where two of the most heavily used motorways in Europe meet. The airport grounds, which form a city district of Frankfurt named Frankfurt Flughafen, are surrounded by the Frankfurt City Forest. The southern portion of the airport grounds extend partially into the cities of Rüsselsheim am Main and Moorfelden-Walldorf, and a western portion of the grounds lie within the city of Kelsterbach. The airport is centrally located in the Frankfurt Rhine-Main region, Germany's third-largest metropolitan region, which itself has a central location in the densely populated region of the West-Central European megalopolis. Thereby, along with a strong rail and motorway connection, the airport serves as a major transport for the greater region, less than 2 hours by ground to Cologne, the Ruhr area, and Stuttgart. History: the base opened as a German commercial airport in 1936, with the northern part of base used as a field for fixed-wing aircraft and the extreme southern part near Zeppelinheim serving as a base for rigid airships. That section of Rhine-Main later became the base for the Graf Zeppelin, its sister ship LZ-130, and, until the 6th of May 1937, for the ill-fated Hindenburg. The airships were dismantled and the huge hangars demolished on the 6th of May 1940 during conversion of the base to military use. Luftwaffe engineers subsequently extended the single runway and erected hangars and other facilities for German military aircraft. During World War II, the Luftwaffe used the field sporadically as a fighter base and as an experimental station for jet aircraft. First Airport. On the 16th of November 1909, the world's first airline was founded in Frankfurt am Main, the Deutsche Luftschifffahrtsaktiengesellschaft, DELAG, then built the first airport in Frankfurt, called Airship Base at Rebstock, which was located in Bockenheim in the western part of the city and was primarily used for airships in the beginning. It opened in 1912 and was extended after World War I, but in 1924 an expert report already questioned the possibility of further expansions at this location. With the foundation of Deutsche Lufthansa in 1926, a rapid boom of civilian air travel started and soon the airship base became too small to handle the demand. Plans for a new and larger airport located in the Frankfurt city forest southwest of Schwanheim were approved in 1930, but were not realized due to the Great Depression. After the Marktgreifung in 1933, the government revived the plans and started the construction of the new airport. Second airport on the northern part of the airport originated in 1935, a two-story station building with a six-story tower, and other operating and outbuildings for maintenance and storage of aircraft. The approximately 100 hectares runway received a grass cover. The official opening of the new Flughafen Luftschiffhafen Rhein-Main took place on July 8, 1936. The first plane that landed was a Ju 52/3 of a meter. 6 days later, on the 14th of July 1936, LZ-127 Graf Zeppelin landed at the airport. 1936, 800 tons of cargo and 58,000 passengers were transported. In 1937, 70,000 passengers and 966 tons of cargo. In the coming years, the new airport was home base of the two largest German airships, LZ-127 Graf Zeppelin and LZ-129 Hindenburg. In 1938, Frankfurt was a central distribution point for the transport of airmail to North America. On May 6, 1937, it came to a serious accident. The Hindenburg, on the way from Frankfurt to New York, exploded shortly before application in the landing area of Lakehurst. 36 people died. The accident marked the end of the regular airshipping traffic and the end of the era of airships. World War II. After the beginning of World War II, in 1939, all foreign airlines left the airport and control of air traffic was transferred to the Luftwaffe. On the 9th of May 1940, the first bombers took off to attack France. From August to November 1944, a concentration camp was established in Waldorf, close to the airport site, where Jewish female prisoners were forced to work for the airport. The Allies of World War II destroyed the runway system with airstrikes in 1944, and the Wehrmacht blew up buildings and fuel depots in 1945. Shortly before the U.S. Army took control of the airport on the 25th of March 1945. After the German instrument of surrender, the war in Europe ended and the U.S. Army started to build a new temporary runway at Frankfurt Airport. The southern part of the airport ground was occupied to build the Rhein-Main Air Base as an Air Force base for the United States Air Forces in Europe. Berlin Airlift. In 1948, the Soviet Union blocked the Western Allies' rail and road access to the sectors of West Berlin under Allied control. Their aim was to force the Western powers to allow the Soviet zone to start supplying Berlin with food and fuel, thereby giving the Soviets practical control over the entire city. In response, the Western Allies organized the Berlin Airlift to carry supplies via air to the people in West Berlin. The airports in Frankfurt, Hamburg and Hanover were the primary bases for Allied aircraft. The heavy use of these so-called Raisin bombers caused damage to the runway in Frankfurt and forced the U.S. Army to build a second parallel runway. The airlift ended in September 1949 after the Soviet Union ended the blockade. Growth of the airport. In 1951, restrictions for German air travelers were lifted and civil air traffic started to grow again. In 1952, Frankfurt Airport handled more than 400,000 passengers. A year later it was more than 500,000. About 100 to 120 aeroplanes took off from and landed in Frankfurt daily. In 1955, Lufthansa resumed flights to and from Frankfurt, and in the same year the Federal Republic of Germany gained its air sovereignty back from the Allies. In 1957 the northern runway was extended, first to 3,000 meters and then to 3,900 meters, to make it compatible with jet aircraft. The airport did not emerge as a major international airline hub until 1958, when a new passenger terminal called centres.It opened in the northeast corner of the airport site. Only 4 years later it was clear that the terminal was already too small from the demand. In 1961 Frankfurt already had 2.2 million passengers and 81,000 takeoffs and landings, making it the second busiest airport in Europe behind London Heathrow Airport. In 1962 it was decided to build an even larger terminal with a capacity of 30 million passengers per year. Work on this terminal began in 1965. The southern runway was extended to 3,750 meters in 1964. In 1970 a new hangar was inaugurated. This accommodated 6 jet aircraft and was the world's largest hangar at the time. The new main terminal, called Terminal-Mitte, is divided into 3 concourses with 56 gates and an electric baggage handling system. Everything opened to the public on the 14th of March 1972. It was assumed that the terminal capacity would be sufficient for the next 30 years. Along with the new terminal, a railway station was opened, the first airport railway station in the Federal Republic of Germany. A few days later, the old Empfangsanlage was closed. The third runway. Planning for a third runway began in 1973. This project spawned massive protests by residents and environmentalists. The main points of conflict were increasing noise and pollution and the cutting down of protected trees in the Frankfurt city forest. While the protests and related lawsuits were unsuccessful in preventing the construction of the runway, the Startbahn West protests were one of the major crystallization points for the German environmental movement of the 1980s. The protests even continued after the runway had been opened in 1984, and in 1987 2 police officers were killed by a gunman. This incident ended the Startbahn West protests for good, because of its orientation in the north-south direction, in contrast to the other 2 runways which run east-west. The use of the third runway is limited. The Startbahn West can only be used for takeoffs to the south because otherwise they would interfere with air traffic at the other runways. Due to this restriction, the runway must be partially or fully closed when northward winds are too strong. Terminal 2 and the second railway station in 1990. Work on a new terminal began because it was anticipated that Terminal-Mitte would reach its capacity limit sooner than expected. The new terminal, divided into concourses D and E, was built to the east of the existing terminal where once the Empfangsanlage had been. With its opening in 1994, Frankfurt Airport increased its terminal capacity to 54 million passengers per year. Along with the terminal opening, a people mover system called CityLine was established to provide a fast connection between Terminal 2 and Terminal-Mitte. In 1999, a second railway station, primarily for intercity express long-distance trains, opened near Terminal 1 as part of the new Cologne-Frankfurt high-speed rail line. At the same time, local and regional rail services were based at the existing underground station, now renamed Frankfurt Airport Regional Station. Closure of the Rhine-Main Air Base. On the 30th of December 2005, the Rhine-Main Air Base in the southern part of the airport ground was closed and the U.S. Air Force moved to Ramstein Air Base. The property was handed back to Fraport, which allows the airport to use it to build build a new passenger terminal, the property of the housing area for the soldiers, called Gateway Gardens, which was located northeast of the airport site, was given back to the city of Frankfurt in the same year and will be developed as a business district in the following years. The Airbus A380 and the Square. From 2005 to 2007, a large Airbus A380 maintenance facility was built at Frankfurt Airport because Lufthansa wanted to station the future A380 aircraft fleet there. Due to economic constraints, only half of the facility has been built so far. Both terminals also underwent major renovations in order to handle the A380, including the installation of a third boarding bridge at several gates. Lufthansa's first Airbus A380 went into operation in June 2010 and was named Frankfurt am Main. In 2011, a large office building called The Square opened at Frankfurt Airport. It was built on top of the airport long-distance station and is considered the largest office building in Germany with 140,000 square meters floor area. Main tenants are KPMG and 2 Hilton hotels. Since 2012, the People Mover, the Square Metro P, connects the square with the 9-story parking structure. On a length of about 300 meters, the so-called Mini-Metro system with its 2 cabins can carry up to 1,300 passengers per hour. The constructor of the system was the Italian manufacturer Leitner. The 4th runway. Plans to build a 4th runway at Frankfurt Airport had been underway since 1997, but, due to the violent conflicts with the building of the 3rd runway, Fraport residents groups and environmentalists participate in the process to find a mutually acceptable solution. In 2000, a task force presented the conclusion which generally approved a new runway, but in shorter length, which would serve as a landing-only runway for smaller aircraft. Additional requirements included improved noise protection arrangements and a strict ban on night flights between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. across the whole airport. In 2001, Fraport applied for an approval to build a new runway, with 3 possible variants assessed. This concluded that a runway northwest of the airport site would have the least impact on local residents and the surrounding environment. The plans were approved by the Hessian government in December 2007, but the requested ban on night flights was lifted because it was argued that an international airport like Frankfurt would need night flights, especially for worldwide freight transport. Construction of the new 2,800 meters long runway northwest in the Kelsterbach forest began in early 2009. The runway officially went into operation on the 20th of October 2011, with an aircraft carrying Chancellor Angela Merkel performing the first landing on the 21st of October. The centerline separation from the existing north runway is about 1,400 meters. This allows simultaneous instrument landing system operations on these 2 runways, which has not been possible on the other parallel runways, which do not meet the 3,500-foot minimum separation for ILS operations. This allowed the airport to increase its capacity from 83 to 126 aircraft movements per hour. Ban on night flights. On the 11th of October 2011, the Hessian Administration Court ruled that night flights between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. are no longer allowed at Frankfurt Airport after the inauguration of the new runway, and therefore overrode the approval from the Hessian government from 2007 which allowed 17 scheduled flights per night. On the 4th of April 2012, the German Administrative Court confirmed the decision of the Hessian Administration Court, banning night flights between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., to handle the predicted passenger amount of about 90 million in 2020. A new terminal section adjacent to Terminal 1 for an additional 6 million passengers opened on the 10th of October 2012. It is called Flugsteig Plus and exclusively used by Lufthansa mainly for the long-haul flights. Flugsteig Plus features 8 parking positions and is able to handle 4 Airbus A380 or 7 Boeing 747 at once. Facilities. Terminals. Frankfurt Airport has 2 large main passenger terminals and a much smaller dedicated first-class terminal which is operated and exclusively used by Lufthansa. As is the case at London's Heathrow Airport, terminal operations are grouped for airlines and airline alliances rather than into domestic and international routes. Terminal 1 is the older and larger one of the 2 passenger terminals. The land side is 420 meters long. It has been enlarged several times and is divided into concourses at B, C and Z and has a capacity of approximately 50 million passengers per year. Terminal 1 is functionally divided into 3 levels: the departures level on the upper floor with check-in counters, the arrivals level with baggage claim areas on the ground floor, and underneath, a distribution floor with access to the regional station and underground and multi-level parking. Departures and arrivals levels each have separate street approaches. A bus station is located at arrivals level. Terminal 1 has a total of 103 gates, which include 54 gates equipped with jetways. Pier A was extended by 500 meters in 2000, and a link between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, as well as the Hall C extension, opened in 2008. On the 10th of October 2012, an 800-meter-long westward expansion of Terminal 1 called Pier A Plus went into operation. It provides more stands for wide-body aircraft like the Airbus A380. Terminal 1 is primarily used by Lufthansa, its associated companies and its Star Alliance partners. Terminal 2, which has a capacity of 15 million passengers a year, was opened in 1994 and is divided into concourses D and E. A continuous concourse between Terminal 1C and 2D provides direct but non-public access between the 2 terminals. It has 8 gates with jetways and 34 apron stands, a total of 42 gates, and is able to handle wide-body aircraft such as Korean Air's Airbus A380s. Terminal 2 is primarily used by airlines of the One World and SkyTeam alliances. Passengers and visitors can change terminals with the People Mover system CityLine, which has stops at Terminal 1AZ, Terminal 01BC in Terminal 2D. The travel time between the terminals is 2 minutes, with trains arriving every 2 to 3 minutes during the day. Additionally, there is regular bus service between the terminals. The future of Terminal 2 will operate also for Star Alliance Lufthansa for the next 2020. Lufthansa First Class Terminal. Lufthansa operates a small dedicated first-class terminal near Terminal 1 with exclusive access for Lufthansa First Class passengers and Hahn Circle frequent flyer members only. Other first-class passengers must use the dedicated first-class lounges within the main terminals. The facility has 200 staff and is used by about 300 passengers daily. It provides individualized security screening and customs facilities. Amenities include valet parking, a white linen restaurant, lounge and office areas, a cigar room and bubble baths. Passengers are transported directly from the terminal to the plane by luxury car. Runways. Frankfurt Airport has 4 runways, of which 3 are arranged parallel in east-west direction and 1 in north-south direction. In 2010, 3 runways handled 464,432 aircraft movements, which equated to 83 movements per hour. With the start of operation of the North northwest runway in October 2011. The airport was predicted to be able to handle 126 movements per hour. It is predicted that aircraft movements will increase up to 700,000 in the year 2020. By using the fourth runway, Frankfurt Airport is able for the first time to handle simultaneous parallel landings, because the distance between the north and the northwest runways is 1,400 meters. Simultaneous parallel landings were not possible with the north and south runway pairing, because the separation distance did not meet the safety standard prescribed by the International Civil Aviation Organization. During normal operation, the two outer parallel runways are used for landings and the central parallel runway and the runway west for takeoffs. The three parallel runways have two markings because they can be operated in two directions, while the runway west can only be used in one direction. Future expansions. Terminal 3. In 2009, the German government decided to create third terminals for both Frankfurt Airport and Munich Airport, in order to handle expected passenger flows of 90 million in Frankfurt by 2020 and 50 million in Munich by 2017. The new terminal is scheduled to be built by Fraport, south of the existing terminals on the grounds of the former Rhine-Main Air Base. The new Terminal 3 is to accommodate up to 25 million passengers and will feature 75 new aircraft positions when completely constructed. An extension of the CityLine People Mover system is planned to connect the new terminal to Terminals 1 and 2 and the airport train stations. In August 2014, the city of Frankfurt granted building permission for the first phase of Terminal 3. The groundbreaking for the new terminal took place on 5 October 2015. Its first phase, consisting of the main building and two of the planned four piers, is planned to open by 2022 and will be able to handle 15 million additional passengers per year. Total costs are estimated at €3 billion. Passenger airlines and destinations. 107 airlines fly to 275 destinations in 111 countries from Frankfurt Airport, with approximately 1,365 flights per day. Lufthansa and the Star Alliance partners account for 77% of all passengers at Frankfurt Airport. 65% of all intercontinental flights in Germany are operated at Frankfurt Airport, followed by Munich Airport with 17%, due to capacity constraints until autumn 2011 when the fourth runway went into operation. There are few low-cost carriers operating at Frankfurt Airport. These airlines use Frankfurt Hahn Airport as an alternative, which also provides lower operational costs. Despite its name, Frankfurt Hahn Airport is located about 120 kilometers west of Frankfurt, closer to Koblenz and Mainz. The following airlines offer regular scheduled and charter flights at Frankfurt Airport. Cargo airlines and destinations. Frankfurt Airport is the second largest multimodal transport airport in Europe and has several logistics facilities. These facilities are grouped to two areas at the airport ground, in the north and in the south. In 2010 it was the second busiest airport by cargo traffic in Europe after Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, handling 2,231,348 metric tons of loaded and unloaded freight. The following airlines operate regular scheduled cargo operations at Frankfurt Airport. Cargo City. Cargo City is the name of the two large main areas featuring most of the airport's freight handling facilities. The 98-hectare large Cargo City site is home to a cargo center for dispatch service providers and freight forwarding businesses. Several transport companies like DHL Global Forwarding, Air China, Emirates, Japan Airlines, Cathay Pacific, Korean Air and Fraport cargo services are based here. Cargo City Nord is the headquarters of Lufthansa Cargo. Additional facilities here are a perishable center for fresh-produced goods and the Frankfurt Animal Lounge for the transport of living animals.